Hi guys, how's it going? Figured I'd go ahead and bring some information on Canada from Alberta, and instead of from our speculation on what they think, feel, whatever, I figured I'd bring it to you from their perspective. So let's go to their perspective. Make sure to please like.
My fellow Albertans, today I wish to speak to you about the future of Alberta and Canada. Albertans have always been loyal, proud, and generous Canadians. We love Canada. We have fought wars and died defending Canada. We've opened our doors wide for millions of our fellow Canadians searching for opportunity, many of whom stay and become Albertan, and many who return home to their native province. All have been welcomed with open arms. Our province has contributed hundreds of billions of dollars more to the federal treasury for use in other parts of the country than we'll ever receive back in benefits. We have allowed this to, frankly, we know how blessed our province is with an endowment of natural resources that no other country on earth possesses. And we want all of our friends, families, and fellow Canadians across the country to benefit from it. We don't ask for special treatment or handouts. We just want to be free to develop and export that incredible wealth of resources we have for the benefit of our families and future generations. Free to pursue opportunities with the ideals of entrepreneurship, hard work, and innovation that have become synonymous with the name of our province. Freedom to choose how best to provide healthcare, education, and other needed social services to our people, even if it's done differently than what Ottawa has in mind. Strong and free is more than just our provincial motto. It represents who we are and how we want to live as a people. And that is why Albertans are so frustrated with the direction of our country. For the last 10 years, successive Liberal governments in Ottawa, supported by their new Democrat allies, have unleashed a tidal wave of laws, policies, and political attacks aimed directly at Alberta's free economy, and in effect, against the future and livelihoods of our people. They have blocked new pipelines with C-69, canceled multiple oil and gas projects, and banned the very tanker ships needed to carry those resources to new markets. They have stacked an oil and gas production cap on top of a crippling industrial carbon tax, making new energy and agricultural projects economically impossible to pursue without massive subsidies from governments, which Ottawa has failed to provide and which our taxpayers cannot afford. This onslaught of anti-energy, anti-agriculture, and anti-resource development policies have scared away global investments to the tune of $500 billion, driving those investments and jobs out of Alberta and Canada to much more attractive investment climates in the United States, Asia, and the Middle East. Having traveled much of the world these past few years, it is evident that Canada is not viewed as an attractive place to invest in resource development, manufacturing, or agriculture because of our high carbon taxes, endless red tape, and the uncertainty and chaos brought about by these and other federal government policies. As a result, Canada has fallen to dead last in economic growth among industrialized nations. The world looks at us like we've lost our minds. We have the most abundant and accessible natural resources of any country on earth, and yet we landlock them, sell what we do produce to a single customer to the south of us, while enabling polluting dictatorships to eat our lunch. For Albertans, these attacks on our province by our own federal government have become unbearable. As I said, these policies have cost Albertans roughly $500 billion in investment, and that loss is growing daily. It has and will continue to cost hundreds of thousands of jobs, robbing countless Albertans and other Canadians of their means of providing for their families. It has cost us a decade of opportunities and tens of billions in lost royalties that could have been invested in the health, education, infrastructure, and social services Albertans and Canadians need. And what's worse, Ottawa continues onward with more destructive policies. They have imposed net zero mandates on our natural gas-based power grid, causing investment in reliable generation from natural gas to flee, thereby endangering the future stability of our power grid and risking future blackouts and spikes in electricity costs for Alberta families and businesses. They've attacked our food producers with methane taxes, onerous regulations on fertilizer, electric vehicle mandates, and many other destructive policies that have hiked costs on our farmers and ranchers and driven billions of dollars of investment in agriculture elsewhere. They've interfered in provincial jurisdiction time and again, from taking over the regulation of plastics to mandating how we operate childcare, healthcare, and dental care, to
No, I have
harassing
not.
law-abiding firearms owners, to dozens of other examples of unconstitutional interference. And of course, Alberta has fought back. We always have and always will. We passed the Sovereignty Within a United Canada Act and have invoked it twice to protect Albertans as best we can from the effects of the net zero electricity regulations and the energy production cap. We beat the feds in court on both the No New Pipelines Law, C-69, and their attempt to regulate plastics, though they have ignored both court decisions to this point. And we have just announced a court challenge on the net zero electricity regulations and are further preparing to also challenge the energy production cap. We continue to do all in our power to counteract Ottawa's chill on investment in energy, agriculture, and our other job sectors through various tax cuts and incentive programs, which greatly strain the provincial budget. We have fought these attacks from Ottawa furiously and have won some important battles, but the lost opportunities, jobs, and futures of so many Albertans are costly and demoralizing, as are the growing number of Eastern politicians who choose to openly demonize and target Alberta for political gain. That is why a large majority of Albertans are so deeply frustrated with the results of last week's federal election. It's not that our preferred candidate and party lost. That happens in a democracy. It's that the same Liberal government with almost all the same ministers responsible for our nation's inflation, housing, crime, and budget crisis, and that oversaw the attack on our provincial economy for the past 10 years, have been returned to power. Now, as we all know, one thing has changed. We have a new prime minister. And I will say that in my first conversation with him since the election, he had some promising things to say about changing the direction of his government's anti-resource policies. However, Albertans are more of a actions speak louder than words kind of people. So while I will in good faith work with Prime Minister Mark Carney on unwinding the mountain of destructive legislation and policies that have ravaged our provincial and national economies this past decade, until I see tangible proof of real change, Alberta will be taking steps to better protect ourselves from Ottawa. As a start, I will soon appoint a special negotiating team to represent our province in negotiations with the federal government on the following reforms requested by our province. We hope this will result in a binding agreement that Albertans can have confidence in. Call it an Alberta Accord, if you will. First, Alberta requires guaranteed corridor and port access to tidewater off the Pacific, Arctic, and Atlantic coasts for the international export of Alberta oil, gas, critical minerals, and other resources in amounts supported by the free market rather than by the dictates and whims of Ottawa. Every province in the country, other than Alberta and Saskatchewan, have coastal port access, and no province needs it more given the size and value of our resources. This will benefit all Canadians to the tune of trillions of dollars of economic activity, including billions for First Nations partners. Second, the federal government must end all federal interference in the development of provincial resources by repealing the No New Pipelines Law, C-69, the oil tanker ban, the net zero electricity regulations, the oil and gas emissions cap, the net zero vehicle mandate, and any federal law or regulation that purports to regulate industrial carbon emissions, plastics, or the commercial free speech of energy companies. These laws are destroying investment confidence and costing Canada and Alberta hundreds of billions in investments each year. They need to go. Third, the federal government must refrain from imposing export taxes or restrictions on the export of Alberta resources without the consent of the government of Alberta. Frankly, all provinces should be given that same respect for their resources. And fourth, the federal government must provide to Alberta the same per capita federal transfers and equalization as is received by the other three largest provinces, Quebec, Ontario, and British Columbia. We have no issue with Alberta continuing to subsidize smaller provinces with their needs, but there is no excuse for such large and powerful economies like Ontario, Quebec, BC, or Alberta to be subsidizing one another. That was never the intent of equalization, and it needs to end. If these points can be agreed to by the federal government, I am convinced it will not only make Alberta and Canada an infinitely stronger and more prosperous country, but will eliminate the doubts a growing number of Albertans feel about the future of Alberta in Canada. While these negotiations with Ottawa are ongoing, our government will appoint, and I will chair, the Alberta Next panel. This panel will be composed of some of our best and brightest judicial, academic, and economic minds to join with me in a series of in-person and online town halls to discuss Alberta's future in Canada, and specifically, what next steps we can take as a province to better protect Alberta from any current or future hostile policies of the federal government. Details of the membership and scope of that panel will be released in the coming weeks.
So what do y'all think about that? Canada, Alberta is laying the gauntlet down saying, hey, we're tired of the government that's strangling us. We're paying a majority of the taxes. We're getting very few of the benefit of those taxes. And you're killing our country and our ability to make money to pay those taxes. So what are you guys' thoughts on that? I appreciate, William, you want to talk about religion, but that's like different for everybody. And it kind of chases people away who don't have the same interpretation as you do or I do. So I try and stay off topics like that. You know, it's just my in particular vision of religion is it's personal, because it's personal. If I read the Bible and I get a passage out of it, do you dictate to me that I have to get the same meaning from that passage as you? Or can I accept that God had that book written so that my interpretation is personal to me and not for you to determine? So to debate anything other than that in the Bible is ridiculous, because first you got to come to terms with, is it a personal message from God to the individual, or is it a personal message from God to every human being that they have to accept the same principles that one person gets out of it? That's an intellectual thought process. What's up, C4? Yes, it is truth. I'm not saying it's not truth. What I'm saying is truth is one thing to you and one thing to me, and it is for God to determine which way we see it through our free will that he gave us. So when we read it, our life, if I live in Afghanistan my whole life and I see women getting beat and shot all the time, or do I live in a high rise in New York City and I never see any of that, am I going to receive the same message from that passage? Heck no, I'm not. So again, it goes back to it's personal. Yeah, it's not more complicated than that. And it's personal. That message is personal for everybody because everyone's path is different. Not everyone needs to go out to the corner and raise the Bible up and start preaching about it. Because if we all did that, we wouldn't need to do that. And then we'd all be in the same military with the same haircuts, with the same clothing, and it'd be very boring. God gave us free will. And in that free will, we've made different choices. And we are supposed to relate back to the Bible for our personal interpretation of where we are in our lives at that time and the message God wants us to receive from that book. That's the way I see it. And truth is perspective. What perspective do you have that I don't have? Again, if you want to dictate what truth is, then you better be God, because he's the only one who can dictate what truth is to people. Well, again, a truth to an individual who grows up in the mountains of Afghanistan, where all he's used to is being shot at and not having running water. Well, his truth is a different truth than someone born upper Manhattan with, Rolex watches and diamonds attached to his butt. The same people and live in the same world in the same time period have two different truths on that same day, because hey, what's up, all-nighter? You're piloting your truck. Oh my God, did it grow wings? Well, that is truth, but in Afghanistan, you don't have a computer, so it's not truth for them. That's my point. Religion or spirituality, the Bible, is personal to everyone because everyone has a different circumstance. What about that little child who just got raped and he was a boy and he's in a foreign country and no one to help him? What's his truth? He looks at that Bible and says, well, hey, those guys are evil and they did this to me. And then you go to someone across the country again. Well, use Manhattan, the sky rises where the billionaires live. And that little boy who lives in that thing, what's his truth on that same day? Those truths will be exactly different reading the same passage in the Bible. And it's because it's personal. Yes, it's truth, but it's personal to everybody. It's not the same for everybody. It's just not. It's got a rudder. Holy shit. Oh, so you're okay. Okay, so you're out fishing. I got you. Took me a little while. I was thinking of airplanes. But you can pilot a boat as well. What's up, Hunter? I was just started this off with, I guess, Alberta's main politician stating their opinion on what they think of how Canada's been killing Alberta and Albertans' tax dollars and everything else, and they pretty much gave him a ultimatum on how to run Canada. So it seems like no matter what the Canadian government is, no matter how liberal they are, they're gonna bow to Canada, and Canada has the same principles as America. So Canada is pretty much going to fall in line with not a liberal mindset government, even though that's what they have. They're going to fall in line with Alberta because Alberta gives them the money to run their liberal government. And if Alberta leaves, there'll be no government to be liberal or conservative. So I think they're going to change their minds. Okay, William, you're 100% correct. Truth is not reading the Bible and getting the same message out of it. You're changing the topic. You started out with saying the Bible says this about Nebuchadnezzar, and now it's gone to truth. And yes, again, truth is universal, and it's interpreted differently. And if you can't understand that, you need to put yourself in the perspective of someone in Ecuador who has no running water, has no education, has no new shoes, and has to live their life, and then go to someone in Dallas, Texas, who's the same age and has the luxuries of everything. Their truths are different. Their lies are different. They're personal and individual based on their reality. Their reality is not the same. So they're not going to have the same truth. Their truths will be different. The truth to the one guy in America is going to be, yeah, freedom's great. The truth to the kid in Ecuador who doesn't have it is, yeah, what's freedom? Is that not different? Oh, so now now what we're talking about, William, is in a perfect society where there is no Satan. Yes, 100% true and correct. Unfortunately, we're on Earth where there's 9 billion people or 8 billion some odd people, and each one of them has individual choice and freedom of choice, God-given freedom of choice, and they choose to screw this area up. So we have to live in that world, not in the perfect Mahatma Gandhi world. I believe actually that principle got a lot of people killed and beaten because they went to war with people who had weapons and didn't really work out too well for them. But they died with truth in their eyes. So it all depends on, where you want to go. Yeah, in 1,000 years, when everyone here is dead and we're judged by God, the truth will be universal. But that's a different reality than the reality we're living here on Earth. This reality is totally different. And that's why I don't want to talk about religion, because I had 14 people in here. Now I have 5. So although we're having a great conversation, it is not doing my channel. Actually, it's harming my channel. I didn't start this channel as not a religious speak channel. I believe actually now I'm down to 2 people. I believe the topic is something about, okay, why not? It's 420 somewhere. No religion in there. And though I do appreciate you wanting to come and talk religion, we're done talking religion because I just lost most of my people and I might have to end the stream. So great talk on religion. Killing my channel. I'll give you my phone number. We can talk. I'll get my pastor on a 3-way and He can correct my sayings and yours because he's been a pastor for 37, 38 years. But beyond that, I'm done talking religion on the show. And I'd appreciate if you would humor me and talk about something else. Thank you, William. I appreciate it. You're 100% correct. And here's something else 100% correct. I am not a religious show. That's 100% truth as well. So let's agree to that truth in the here and now, in my reality for my truth, since I'm the one putting the truth out there on my channel. Okay, so I obliged you with a little bit of religious talk. I've lost 11 viewers. I feel no better. My perspective's still the same. I hope you feel better. But it's done no one, no one's here except for you, me, and one other person. So I'll give you my phone number. We can call, talk about it. Let's get on a subject where I can get that number back up to 15. Because I actually, within 50 years, would love to monetize this channel. And after 3 years, I've still only got 2,100 viewing hours. I'm still 900 short. And with my viewing numbers going down as we're talking, it's not beneficial. So change up subjects back to Alberta or weed or something else. See, he's the third person here. Yeah. Let's talk about stuff that brings people in, doesn't chase them off. Or at least be, cool and leave the religious stuff till Sunday, where everyone's supposed to talk about it. And that's also circumstantial. It should be Saturday. And there's an argument too, which truth is what? So let's just get off of it. My number that I'm looking at had 15. And now it's back up to 4. It was down to 3. I watch that. That's why I kind of gear the conversation to go certain ways, even though I do oblige people, because it's worth talking about. I am a Christian. I'm not going to deny it, but I don't come on a show to tell everyone I'm a Christian and you believe exactly what I tell you to believe, but that I get my version of what I see and read out of the Bible. I'm not a Bible thumper. Okay. God can punish me for not being a Bible thumper, but you know what? I don't think he put me down here for that. Because if he did, I would have had a different life and a different rearing. So therefore, Bible's personal to everybody, and everybody sees that truth differently based on the way they lived. And the way they die, well, then they're going to find out if they were right or not, because then we'll all get judged. And we're not going to be judged here on this planet by anyone else. Because if you do judge people, then you're pretty much going to hell, because it says, judge not lest ye be judged. And that's an eternal truth too. Damn, let's get, fuck, man, you got me going on this shit. Let's see, what else can I talk about that'll get my mind off of this? I don't have anything geared. It was just about that Alberta thing, and no one wants to talk about Alberta. So I'll go ahead and end the stream. It was just to talk about Alberta and how they're going to control how Canada runs, no matter what way the Canadian Liberal government goes, because Alberta controls the purse strings. And the purse strings are what runs politics. And as you saw from that statement, that lady from Albertan government was saying, they're losing $500 billion a year because of the policies of the government of Canada. And they provide a majority of course it is, they provide a majority of Canada's money that they waste on these liberal policies. She laid it all out. And she said, if they can come to terms with the Canadian government, they can continue to be part of Canada. Otherwise, Canada is going to go by the way of the turkey, because if Alberta secedes from Canada, that means Canada doesn't have any money, so they're no longer a functioning government or country, in which case they become America. So their choices are become more America or become America. And I said that the whole time. Tariffs, man. The only way that country's surviving, other than Alberta's energy district and farming district, which has been killed by the Canadian government in the past 10 years, is through taxes and tariffs. They get like $500 billion a year in capital from America through taxes and tariffs. $273 for a chicken, percent tariff on chicken, 75% tariff on lobsters. that harms American industry and business, and it helps them. So if we level the playing field, they go to the way of the dodo bird. So we're just going to do a 10%, get them to the negotiating table and tell them, hey, downsize the size of your government. You're giving away too much free money. It's not your money. You take it from us, and we're no longer going to give it to you. We're going to tariff you back. So come to the negotiating table and let's talk how we can lower that tariff of 263% on all of our chickens to maybe 100%, and how we can lower the tariff on American lobsters from 75% to maybe 50%. And we'll only tariff you 10%. And if he does just that, Canada will be a lot more conservative of a country because they won't have the money to spend on these liberal ideas. And America will have more money because we won't be giving them to a country so they can spend it on liberal ideas that harm our country. So either way it goes, Canada's not going to be liberal for too long because they're going to lose their money. And if you lose your money, you don't have a government. And if you don't have a government, well, someone else comes in and governs you. And since we're the closest one, they better pray to God that it's going to be America that comes over to govern them if they give up their own country. Because if the Chinese do it, they are going to look like Beijing. They're all going to have like suicide nets around their apartments and all this other stuff. And I'm sure Canadians would look forward to that. Because that's the way the government's leading them, in my opinion. Not that they're actually, I don't know for a fact. Could be a big head fake as far as I know. But right now, looks like that government's on suicide watch. Yeah, they are. The only problem is they give their government their taxes, and their government is not representative of the people. That's the whole problem. There's a disassociation from the people and the controllers or their politicians who have actually turned into controllers. I have a cousin that lives in the richest area of fucking Vancouver. He just had a heart attack 2 years ago. It's a big fat fucker. Younger than me by like 10 years. But his mommy married who my grandfather said to marry, so they got the family money, and he's literally living fat off the hog. He got all the family money, the Sutherland money, and his sister lives in downtown in a flat. They call them flats in London. She lives in a flat in downtown London, and her brother, my other cousin, lives in a big old fat ass house in a nice area of Vancouver because they're both millionaires. And here, me and my brother are poor as shit. Well, my brother's not poor as shit, but comparatively, both of us are poor as shit. But that's the way the cookie crumbles with royalty. You're in or you're out. And then we can go to that conversation. That actually started America. And believe it or not, the need to break away from royalties in English, French, all the royalties brought about the need for piracy. The original pirates were actually revolutionaries on the ocean because they couldn't fight a land war, as the crowns, all the royalty had too many men. So, and I know that because at the start, not at the end of the piracy legacy. Hold on a second here. But at the very start of piracy, the skull and crossbones was their symbol of all the pirates that were basically revolutionaries against the crown. And as piracy went on and they wanted to change history and they allowed people to actually go do piracy, they came up with all other kinds of pirate flags. Oh, you don't have to go, William. You don't always talk about religion. Just for some reason tonight you wanted to, and that's all right. We did. Next subject, that's all. And but anyhow, that's how piracy got started, and they covered up the attempt of a quote unquote coup by allowing other what are they called? They were subscribed pirates. They were it was another word. They weren't pirates. They were not buccaneers. It was when one country allowed individuals to ransack other countries' flagged ships, but it wasn't a military vessel. So it was like a proxy war going on, and there was another word used other than piracy. But after a while, those people that they used as proxies, depending on the geopolitical shit going on at the time, if those two countries became friendly, all of a sudden, all those proxy, quote unquote, pirates that were working for one side or the other actually became pirates and were hunted by both sides. And that's the history of, roundabout history of piracy, basically. And that's why they believe William Teach was actually a descendant of the royal crown, because his name was actually, they don't even know if it's actually William Teach. I'm talking about Blackbeard. And that's why there's such a discrepancy on his history, because they tried to cover up. Same with like Jack the Ripper. Supposedly he was legacy of royalty around the time, and they had to cover up the crap. And that kind of scandal is what caused the initiation of the first piracy. Quiet, Silver. But other than that, then piracy got all kinds of stupid, and they started actually doing just evil piracy shit, which is never good. Hey, you guys make sure to hit that like. I only see 2 likes here. So what other subject do we want to talk about? Oh, there we go. I can do that. Let me go to my emails. Clean Air Metals emailed me specifically. I don't own any of their stock, but they emailed me. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. They sent me an email about, I don't know, 5 or 6 days ago, because I guess they've heard me talking about their shit. And I'm going to share the screen here. Boom. Yeah, this right here. Make sure you guys can see it. And I'll try and go full screen. This right here, in case you missed it, from Clean Air Metals, this is to me. Like I said, I don't own any of their stock, and I never signed up for their shit, but somehow I'm on it. And they sent this right here. This is Clean Air Metals recently announced the results of the last 7 holes of its 2025 winter, 2024 is what it's supposed to be, winter drilling program, and it's 100% owned by Thunder Bay North Critical Minerals Project, also known as TBN. Highlights include, and then it gives all these numbers. And if you understand what these numbers are, I mean, I understand 16.8 meters of 2.5 grade platinum and 2.89 GT and palladium, and then copper and nickel. But I don't understand. I'm not well versed enough at mining and drilling to understand if that's good or bad. They're saying the results continue to demonstrate near surface high grade mineralization at the current deposit is more extensive than previously anticipated. And then there's a little video there, but more importantly is there's some more, the whole numbers and all the other numbers. But there's this cool little video. Here it is right here. And it shows the drill holes for winter drill intercepts, the platinum, 1 gram of platinum, 3 grams and 6 grams of platinum and palladium by color, yellow, red, and purple. purple obviously being the highest concentrations, for which there's a lot of the 6 grams per ton of platinum and palladium. And then the red, which is all around, obviously, it's at 3 grams per ton. And then the yellow is 1 gram per ton. And that's just part of the surface part of the, this right here is a better demonstration or illustration of the clumpage of the metals. And then they talk about community engagement and all this other stuff. Follow us on X. But yeah, they are really pushing their shit, man. So there's obviously some good stuff going on there, in my opinion, that everyone should look at. But anyhow, I'm going to end this stream right now because we're back down to 3 people, which means I cannot maintain the interest of anybody. And you guys have a great Monday night. Good week coming up. And I'll talk to you later. I just wanted to get that information out about Alberta looking to tell the whole country of Canada what to do, or else they're leaving. So I'm pretty sure the rest of the country of Canada will do what Alberta wants them to do, considering they use their money to run Canada. You guys have a good evening. I'll talk to you later.